Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at the top business stories. 44 DFM-listed companies observe 100% transparency. Arab Monetary Fund calls for a reduction in subsidies. And ECB criticized for expected interest rate hike this week. Let's look at the equity markets first. The UAE bourses both fell and posted low trading volumes. Dubai's DFM index fell 0.4% to close at 1,548 points, with the utility sector losing the most. Cooling company Tabreed fell 1.7%. Arab Tech Holding dropped 1.2%. DO dropped 1.6%. Emaar Properties was down 0.3%. Shua Capital also reversed yesterday's gains by falling 3.5%. Emirates NBD, on the other hand, gained 0.3%, and DP World was up 1%. Arab Insurance Group was the largest gainer with a plus of 6.4%. Only 74 million shares were traded, valued at 93 million dirhams. And over in the capital, the ADX fell 0.3% to close at 2,601 points. The construction sector was the one to suffer the most, as Aldar and RAK Properties both lost 2.6%. The banking sector was mixed. Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank was up 3.2%, as was National Bank of Abu Dhabi, with a plus of 1.6%. But Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank fell 0.3% and Bank of Sharjah dropped 0.5%. 85 million shares were traded, valued at 129 million dirhams. And now let's have a quick look at the GCC markets, which ended mainly lower today. The US dollar ended in the red last week as the currency pared some of its gains against the euro and the British sterling from the week before. The reason being that risk appetite picked up, that is often accompanied by broad selling of the safe haven US dollar. To talk about the dollar, we are now joined by Gaurav Kashyap, head of DGCX operations at Alpari Middle East DMCC. Welcome to the show, Gaurav. Good to have you here. Let's look at the euro. It's trading at around 142 against the dollar. Now, we have the rate decision on Thursday. The expectation is that the ECB will raise rates by 25 basis points. What will happen to the euro, and what will happen if it raises it by 50 basis points?
Well, Linda, the Euro-USD pair finds itself in a very curious position. You know, we're on the back of several debt downgrades. We're seeing banks' ratings being slashed across the Eurozone. And yet on the back of this, the Euro-USD has really rallied to a 5-month high, approaching that 142.82 level on the back of interest rate hike expectations. Now, having said that, there's a very high certain degree of that the ECB will be increasing the rates by 25 basis points to 1.25%. You know, this has to come with a combination of forward-looking view by Trichet and his team as to how they will be looking at increasing rates after this particular rate hike. For example, if we do see a rate hike of 25 basis points with no immediate signs of a future rate hike, then it could be seen as very disappointing news for the Euro-USD, and we could see some downward pressure bringing that downwards. To address your last point about the 0.5% basis point increase, it doesn't look very likely with all the financial difficulties the EU is facing right now.
Obviously, yeah.
Even if they do look at increasing very aggressively at this early stage, it will really set the bar very, very high for the ECB to continue with those types of rate hikes. And if, of course, they cannot continue, it will be a lot of downward risk on the Euro-USD pair.
Now, the ECB is not the only one to look at its monetary policy. The Bank of England will do the same, and the Reserve Bank of Australia. What can we expect from those two?
Well, Linda, both are not going to be springing any surprises this week. The BOE is largely expecting to be holding the rates at 0.5% with no changes to their asset purchase plan. The Reserve Bank of Australia, similarly, will also be holding their rates at 4.75%. But I think the key piece of news that we need to comment on would be the FOMC meeting minutes, which are going to be releasing late on Tuesday. Now, these are the meeting minutes from the FOMC's meeting on March 15th. It will give US dollar traders a deeper insight about which way the Fed is looking, if they're looking to be a little bit more dovish or a little bit more hawkish when it comes to attacking inflation. Of course, we have a bunch of Fed speakers speaking throughout the week. We will be picking apart their comments. And as I said, any type of dovish sentiment towards the rhetoric will see the US dollar selling off, particularly against the euro. And on the flip side, any type of hawkish sentiment will see the US dollar rally this week.
We'll see what happens. Thanks for your insights. See you next week. And now to our top stories. Dubai's financial market announced that 44 listed local companies have fully observed transparency in their annual financial statements. According to government news portal WAM, the statements show 100% observance from the companies within the legal period of 3 months from the end of the fiscal year. A statement released by the DFM said that it is suspended trading of 7 Kuwaiti firms that did not provide transparency for their full annual financial statements, as per the requirements of the Securities and Commodities Authority and the DFM. The Arab Monetary Fund has called upon Arab governments to replace subsidies for specific industries and at the same time increase financial assistance to the poor. Subsidies on petrol or bread have become an increasingly contentious issue. The UAE, for instance, became the first GCC member to begin moving towards a gradual increase in petrol prices last year. The Arab Monetary Fund's Director General, Dr. Yassim Al-Manai, added that the subsidy system can be an effective allocation of resources and a financial burden without a warrant, and that the warrant is to help the poor. He added that governments need to work to bring down high debt to GDP ratios in the Arab world. Telecom operator Etisalat is looking to expand into Iraq, Lebanon and Sudan, despite the recent setback of its $12 billion bid for Kuwaiti rival Zain. Analysts say that the company's operation outside the country will continue to grow, suggesting that revenues from abroad could rise up to 30% by 2015 from 23% in 2010. Ahmed bin Ali, Etisalat's senior vice president, according to a local paper, said the company's main focus remains on markets in Asia and Africa. He added that it is monitoring the development of telecom-related issues in various countries and that their future growth will result from the addition of new subscribers in emerging markets. And in our fast financial news, Dubai Islamic Bank has paid 374.7 million dirhams for a controlling stake in home mortgage financing company Tamweel. That's according to the bank's annual report. The lender paid 319 million dirhams in cash and 56 million in treasury shares for the 58% stake. Drydocks World has begun discussions with Singapore's Economic Development Board at the Offshore Arabia Conference and Exhibition. Both sides discussed cooperation frameworks and business opportunities in the marine support services industry. And after the break, we will run you through what's making the headlines in international business today.